Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ybot. Welcome back to World of Warcraft Legion. We're playing some more in the LFR here. We're tanking the LFR. This is the second wing. This is where we deal with Ursoc, the Dragons of Nightmare, and Cenarius. And we're going to jump right into things here because the Ursoc fight is ridiculously short. It's a DPS race, and as things stand right now, as of when I recorded this, well, quite frankly, people have better gear than this place to begin with, just because of Mythics, but also because of the Trial of Valor. So, things are going pretty damn quickly here. Let's dive right into it. So, as a tank, there's two abilities you really need to know about. As always, you want to keep your other tank on focus, in particular in this fight, because this fight has debuffs that the tanks need to worry about. So, there are two debuffs you need to worry about. You do not want to have both of them on you, or else Ursoc will give you into the floor very quickly. You can survive maybe one or two hits, as a matter of fact I am doing right now, and doing an okay job really, but it's taken a lot of healing, I'll bet, to keep my butt alive. So, let's take a look here. First one is Overwhelm. Ursoc overwhelms a player's defenses, inflicting 1,360,000 damage. Physical damage. The damage is... oh yeah, physical damage is also increased by 10% and increases damage taken by Rend Flesh by 75%, which Rend Flesh already hits like a freaking train. So that's gonna hurt a lot. And this lasts for 12 seconds, and this effect does stack. Second ability, as you would expect, is called Rend Flesh. Ursoc viciously rends the player, inflicting 1,215,000 physical damage, in addition to 711,000 physical damage every 2 seconds for 12 seconds. These numbers are probably pushed down for the LFR here. We honestly kind of bumbled this fight a little bit. It looks like, yeah, it's not a great attempt. 2 people have died so far. However, Ursoc is almost dead, so it's no fault of the tank that I'm with here from what I can see. We just kind of bumbled this one a little bit. Honestly, this is not the greatest thing. It's like, do not use this as a reference point. What you want to do is you want to make sure that one tank deals with the Rend Flesh hits and the other tank deals purely with Overwhelm, and that your melee guys, that your DPS, will get the heck away from everybody else when Ursoc focuses on them and charges. And that's pretty much it. So next we're moving on to the Dragons of Nightmare. Okay, the Emerald Dreamway, folks. Welcome to the Emerald Dreamway. It's not quite as green as I remember it, but yeah, this is the area right outside the class order hall. We are going to be fighting the Dragons of Nightmare here. You may remember them from Classic. This is the area that is on the other side of those portals in the real world, so that's kind of cool. So you can see a little in the background there, you can see the Hinterlands portal there. Now, this fight, after reviewing Icy-Veins, I didn't realize it, but this fight is probably the most, it's not the most technically challenging, but it's the fight that is the most able for some dumb tank to just royally screw up. So, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to go over the information on Icy-Veins here. We'll start with just the very basics here. It is a pretty simple fight for tanks. However, if you mess it up, things can go horribly wrong. So, the idea is that each tank needs to deal with a dragon, and you need to tank them away from one another, and the raid needs to split down the middle and just deal with one dragon. Now, the dragons, there are 4 of them, they all share health. You need to make sure that the dragons don't breathe on the raid, because when dragons breathe, it's an AoE cone attack, so make sure that Corrupted Breath is just hitting you and nobody else by facing the dragon away from the raid. Pick up any adds except for the Dread Horrors unless there's a lot of spawns. That's what Icy-Veins is telling us. Now let's go into the abilities section here. This is where it really gets interesting. Well, sort of. There are 4 marks, one that each dragon inflicts upon the tank and the rest of their group, actually. These marks have a 60-yard radius, and what you need to do is you need to make sure that the other group is 60 yards away from the dragon. That's the goal. Because otherwise you're going to have just people taking more damage than they should, and you may have some overlap in between the 2 marks, which you do not want. You do not want people hitting 10 stacks of a mark, because what happens with that is that they will take moderate damage every time they have a stack. It'll build up, so it starts off being around 5,000 shadow damage every second. That can go up to, by 10 to, say, like 50,000 shadow damage. That's getting a little high, but what also happens at 10 marks of any given dragon is that you get a stun for 30 seconds. It's called Slumbering Nightmare, and it'll break your raid. So, what you need to do, Icy-Veins suggests around 7 stacks that you perform a tank swap there, which, not really a tank swap. You swap dragons, so each tank goes to the middle, they taunt the other dragon, and then they bring them back. In this one, you may see me just like running over, grabbing the other guy's dragon, dragging both dragons back, and then the other guy being like, "What the hell are you doing?" Grabs the other dragon and goes off, and everything's good. If you don't have that minimal level of competence, then you're in big trouble. Say, what happens if that guy was to taunt the same dragon that he had before and pulls it back? Then you're in a wipe situation. So that's what you need to watch out for. You need to make sure you see which stacks are on you, and that which stacks are on the other person. You need to match up the debuff with the name of the dragon. Basically, you don't want to be sticking the same dragon with the one part of the raid the entire time. Otherwise, bad things happen, like 30-second stuns and wipes. And that pretty much covers it there, folks. There's not much you really need to worry about on Raid Finder difficulty. Just common sense stuff, really. Also, keep the other tank on focus, as always, so that you can see how many marks that they have on them as well. And next up, we shall move on to Cenarius. Alright, let's just dive right into Cenarius now before we're actually there, because there is quite a bit to cover if we have the opportunity to. Some of the stuff at the end is going to be optional, but let's get into the stuff that you need to know here. So, the tanking for the tanks on all difficulties, it's going to be one tank is going to be the boss tank in Phase 1, and one tank is going to be the ad tank in Phase 1. So in this particular instance, I am the ad tank, and as you can see here, Cenarius, every now and then, he summons Forces of the Nightmare, or he casts Forces of the Nightmare, which summons various things, including a Drake, a Ancient, some Wisps, and some Dryads quite often. What you want to do is the ad tank, since I'm doing that right now, you want to pick up whatever isn't cleansed. The way you choose what is cleansed, if you're the boss tank, is you tank Cenarius nearest that ad. So the little sapling for the Ancient, the Dragon Egg for the dragon, and I believe there's like some little flowers or some crap for the Dryads. Anyway, let's take a look here. Yeah, for us, as for the boss tank, you just basically tank him as much as you can. When he casts the brambles on the ground, move away from them there. Also, for the ads tank, jumping back to them again, you need to make sure that you tank those guys as far away from Cenarius as possible. Also, you can't really tank the Wisps, so don't bother. I believe they just explode anyway and damage the raid. And once you get to Phase 2 here, also if you get some of the crap on you, then you need to jump into the patches of green there to get it off. Let's see, what is the official name of that? Everyone, when Scorch Touch Clear your stacks of Creeping Nightmare. That's what it's called. So you want to wait till 30 apparently on normal mode. So we'll say 30 in Raid Finder. It's 25 on Heroic. So yeah, you can wait quite a while before you have to clean those up, and the green spots shrink every single time somebody clears those, so yeah, it's probably not as big of a deal. You may not have to clear it at all in the entire fight here, depending on how powerful the raid is. Anyway, here, let's take a look and see if there's any other stuff we need to worry about. Spread out 8 yards for Destructive Nightmares, which is the Corrupted Wisps. Spread out 4 yards for Nightmare Javelins from the Twisted Sisters. Leave as few people as possible between you and the Rotting Drake. Okay. When fixated by Nightmare Brambles, kite them away from the raid. That's probably not something the tank's going to have to deal with. That's basically, there's going to be thorns that drop all over the place. Let's dive into Phase 2 here before Cenarius is actually knocked down here. So, Phase 2 tanking. After each time Cenarius casts Spear of Nightmares, you need to do a tank swap. So, once again, folks, big surprise, have the other tank on focus. Now, I believe I may not have done this perfectly. That's not a big surprise if that was the case. But, yeah. Basically, what you can do with that, you can probably get away with a couple of screw-ups there, but try to get it as accurate as possible. When you see that debuff on the other tank, go ahead and go ahead and taunt the boss off of him, and then you'll do it, and then hopefully they'll do the same for you. It's LFR, so anything can happen, but yeah, you can also use your cooldowns. Probably in this case, in LFR, reserve the cooldowns for if you don't get it pulled off and you get a couple of stacks of that. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it to be useful and enjoyable, and I will see you guys next time.